This is the 2021 Ford Escape Hybrid SEL. This is the mid-trim level that's available for the Escape Hybrid versions of the vehicle. We've got the SE or the titanium versions as well. If you're looking for one of those other trims, drop down in the description below for that link, or if you want to know how all three stack up and compare against each other, there's also a video where I compare all three also. I want to give Formula Ford a huge shout out and a thank you for giving me access to this vehicle to shoot the video for you today. Drop down in the description below to find their contact information. Now let's dive right into it, have a little bit of fun, and see what the SEL version of the hybrid has to offer. Now, taking a peek underneath the hood, so as you can see there, we are looking at the regular hybrid version of the vehicle, which is powered by a 2.5-liter Atkinson Hybrid. From a power perspective, this thing is going to be able to push out 200 horsepower and 155 pound-feet of torque. On top of that, we've got some easy access to some fluids. We've got the ability to change or top up our windshield wiper fluid, I should say. And we've also got easy access to either check or change our oil if we want to go that route. But very, very simple and clean look underneath the engine. Now looking at some standard technology inside of the SEL trim level. So as you can see there, we do have our backup camera as well as our reverse sensing system. Now on top of that, the vehicle does have a blind spot system, lets us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, and it also does have a lane keeping system. Now on the outside of the vehicle, as you can see, just along the door there, we also do have a keyless entry pad where we've got the ability to enter in a 5-digit number in order to get access to the vehicle if we don't have a fob. Now there is a 5-digit factory number, but we've got the ability to program in an additional number if we want to. Taking a peek at the key fob of the SEL. So we've got our unlock button, our lock button, remote start, our trunk release, as well as our horn or a panic alarm button. Now on top of that, we do have an emergency access key, so if we ever need to get access to the vehicle, if the either vehicle has died or the fob has died, that's where we're going to go in order to be able to get access to that. Now remote starting the vehicle, we've got a couple different options there. We can either remote start from the key fob, or we can use the Ford Pass app on our cell phone in order to be able to do that. Remote starting from the key fob is very straightforward. We're just going to press the lock button once and that circle button twice. And as you can see there, the vehicle is started. We are in the hybrid, which is why nothing has kind of happened right now. It's running in electric mode. In order to be able to cancel the remote start, we're just going to press that circle button once. Now actually getting into the trunk of the vehicle is a very straightforward process. Because we're in the SEL trim level, we've got a power liftgate. So we've got the ability to press, there's a button just under here where we can do it. We've also got the capabilities to double press on the key fob. So we can double press this button there in order to be able to open the liftgate up. So really, really nice. Let's have a peek inside. Right, so as you can see there, cargo dimensions are showing up there, which is great. Now as you can see, we've got plenty of depth. Now one of the nice things about the Escape is that we've got the ability to move both of those seats backwards and forwards as well. So that second row, we can actually adjust that. So if we need a couple extra inches of space without folding that second row seat, and we've got the capabilities to do that. Now look at the difference in size there when that second row is folded down. So we've got a lot more depth, so if we need to store some extra things or move some things, we've got the capabilities to do it. Let's have a little bit of a peek in the back here. So moving along the left-hand side, as you can see, we've got a 12-volt adapter, so traditional cigarette lighter adapter, and we've got a cargo cover there. So this is going to be the standard cover. We do have the option to get a thermoplastic rubber tray instead. Looking underneath, we've got our mini spare tire with our jack. We've also got our little spigot if we ever need to fill up using a jerry can, and we've got a little bit of storage along both sides. In order to be able to fill up in gas in the vehicle, it is a fairly straightforward process. Now, one thing about the hybrids is that we do have to be unlocked in order for it to happen. So as we can see there, just to the left-hand side of the driver's door, we've got a little button there. So when we press that button, so you can see the fuel door opens when we press the button there. So all we're going to do, it's a capless system, just insert the fuel hose, fill up, and once you're done, you're just going to click, lock, and you're set to go. From a fuel quality perspective, we can just use regular 87 gas, so just your regular 87 octane in order to fill this up. We don't need a premium fuel inside of this vehicle. Now looking in the second row of the SEL version of the vehicle, so as you can see there, we do have a pleather seat. So in the Ford world, it is called the ActiveX seating material. So it essentially is a leather seat, but it's very, very comfortable when it comes down to it. Now very similar to what we saw in the SE, we've got the ability to slide that second row forwards or backwards as necessary. We can recline this second row a little bit as well if we need to, which is really, really nice. Now very similar to the SE, this one does not have the sunroof, so I've got that same 2.5, almost 3 inches of headspace up overhead. Now looking along the passenger seat there, as you can see, we do have a pocket for the passenger side. We don't have one on the driver's side. And moving down below, as you can see there, we've got our USB port, so our traditional USB and our USB-C. Now, as we start to look along these seats in the back here, so one thing that's different in the SEL than the SE is that we do have cup holders in that back row. So we've got the ability to pop those open and just lock it back up into place there. And very similar to what we saw in the SE, we also do have cup holders along the sides, so some bottle holders there along both doors. Looking along the driver's side door of the Escape SEL, we've got our unlock and our lock buttons, the ability to kill off power to those rear windows, we've got the ability to adjust our side view mirrors, and our window control buttons. As we start to move along just the left-hand side of the steering wheel there. So a few things to point out. We do have the ability to open up our gas cap now, and then this one is going to be different in the SEL versus the SE trim level of the vehicle because we've got a powered liftgate, so we've got the ability to open and close it from inside. Same idea with our selector switches, so we can jump in between whatever is going on with our running lamps. And as I mentioned on the SE, the SEL, exact same thing. The only two settings I really recommend you care about at the very top there, or the A setting, the auto, which is automatically going to flip us between our daytime or our nighttime running lamps. We've got our plus and minus buttons, same idea, which are going to cause the dimming of the instrument cluster in the middle there. When it comes down to adjusting the seats inside of the SEL trim level, it is power on the driver's side and it is manual on the passenger side. In order to be able to adjust it, very straightforward. Along the front, we've got a series of levers. So we've got the first one there, which is going to bring the seat forwards and backwards. We can lift the whole seat up, or we can lower the whole seat down. The next one over is going to be for our back, so we can bring that forwards or backwards as necessary. And then finally, we've got another one, which is going to be for our powered lumbar support. So if you need a little bit of extra support for your lower back, you've got the capabilities to do that. Adjusting the steering wheel inside of the SEL is also a manual process. So just by our left knee, there's a lever there. Crank that lever down and it's telescopic, so we can move it in, away, up and down. Once you've got that perfect position, you're just going to take that lever, boom, lock it up, back into place. Next up, let's take a peek at the steering wheel. So a couple things to point out. This is the SEL version of the vehicle, so we've got the analog dash there. Now on top of that, we've got the adaptive cruise control system because we've got the Copilot 360 Plus package. That's going to give us the adaptive cruise control system as well as the factory navigation. So definitely something to consider there. The buttons here would look slightly different if you didn't have adaptive cruise control. Now, one of the nice things about adaptive cruise is that we've got the ability to easily toggle it on or off. With the system on, we can figure out how close or how far we want to be away from the vehicle that's in front of us. And that's one of the great things about adaptive cruise control systems. You set it at whatever speed you'd like to, and when the vehicle in front of you slows down, yours will automatically brake as well, which is an incredible process, and then it'll pick you right back up to your set speed again. This one is going to be for our lane centering system. So the lane keeping system actually works three different ways. The first way, if we start to veer over into a lane without signaling, we'll get a little bit of a steering wheel shake, almost as if we're running over a rumble pavement. Way number two is it's actually going to recenter us and pull us back into our lane by taking control of the steering wheel. And way number three is it's going to recenter us while giving us a little bit of a steering wheel shake. Now, on top of that, we've got the ability to toggle that system on or off by pressing this button. There also is a button just on the left-hand turning stick as well to completely turn the system off if we want to. So very straightforward there. Moving down, we've got the ability to either increase or decrease our volume. We can completely mute it out. Looking along the right-hand side, now these buttons are going to control what's going on in that middle screen, so we can move up and down as we'd like to. This is going to be a basic menu button, which is going to give us the option to get to a few different things. So we can select different screens if we want to, so different trip counters, EV coach, etc. Moving down, we've got our audio, so we can change between our AM, FM, Sirius XM. If your phone is connected, that would show up. If you had a USB stick with MP3s, that would also show up as well. We've got our phone and some basic settings. So basic settings there, we've got our brake life coach as well as our oil life and neutral tow. Display setup, we can display miles per hour, and we can also look at our driving history as well. So very straightforward when it comes down to it. Moving down, we've got the ability to either change songs or radio stations. We can hang up on a phone call, we can answer a phone call, and we've also got our voice command. So voice command is going to do a couple things. So when we press the button, it's going to give us the ability to make phone calls. We can change radio stations, or if we've got the factory navigation like this one does, we can actually navigate using our voice. Now on top of that, we do have the ability to use either Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, which means that when we're connected, this button is also going to either bring up Siri or our Google Assistant, which is kind of neat. Now looking along the left-hand side for that stick there, so as you can see, we do have a button that we can press that in order to turn the lane keeping system on or off. So the system itself is actually activated when we see those little bowling lanes there. Now the system itself is activated, but it doesn't actually turn on until you hit about 60 kilometers an hour. Those are going to go green, and as we start to veer over, whatever lane we're kind of hugging or getting close to is going to go yellow or red. If it's going red, we're either going to get that steering wheel shake or it'll recenter us and pull us back into our lane. All right, now looking at some of the basics of the Sync 3 screen. So because this one's got factory navigation, that's why we've got the layout that we do here. So we've got our maps, we've got the radio station, we've got our phone. So we've got the ability to easily add a phone there as well. And because we're in a hybrid, we've also got the ability to see kind of what's going on with the battery, which is kind of nice. Now, if yours doesn't have the factory navigation, this wouldn't be there. The radio would show up and we have a little compass along the top there instead. We've got some basic audio settings, we've got our phone, navigation, and a number of other things. So if you want more of an in-depth look about how this Sync 3 system works, check down in the description below because I've put together a very comprehensive video that goes step by step about what this Sync 3 screen has to offer. A few highlights that we can look at while we're here though, we've got basic sound, clock settings, etc. The big one is going to be our driver assistance settings. So driver assistance gives us the ability to either use normal, adaptive, or intelligent cruise control. That system is only there if we've got the adaptive cruise control system on the vehicle. So we need the Copilot 360 Plus package. We've got our lane keeping system, works 3 different ways. So it's either going to recenter us or give us a little bit of a steering wheel shake. Pre-collision assist is actually going to automatically brake for us. So if the vehicle senses a potential collision, it's going to brake for us in order to minimize or ideally avoid the potential collision. We've got our speed sign recognition. Our blind spot system lets us know if anybody's entered the blind spot on either side of the vehicle, and that's a very unobtrusive light that goes orange on both sides. Parking aid, that reverse, that beeping that we get as we back up. If we don't like that, we can turn that one off if we'd like to. Cross traffic alert, if the vehicle senses a vehicle coming perpendicular to us, it's going to let us know of a potential collision. We've got our driver alert, so if we're veering over too many times without signaling, the vehicle's going to tell us we should probably take a break. And then we can toggle our traction control system on or off as well. As we start to move down, as you can see there, we've got our volume rockers. We can adjust the volume from there. We can turn our audio on or off. We can also tune our radio. This is probably the least effective method of tuning. Honestly, your best route is to go direct tune along the top or just use your voice on the steering wheel instead. As we start to move down, we've got our 4-way blinkers. We've also got dual zone climate control inside of this vehicle as well. We've got the basic climate control settings, so what's going on with our fans. We've also got our heated seats and a heated steering wheel. Really, really nice. As we start to move down a tiny little bit more, exact same thing that we saw on the SE. We've got the ability to look at our USB cables, so we've got our USB and our USB-C, and we've also got a traditional cigarette lighter adapter. Moving down the center stack a bit more, we've got our park reverse neutral drive in this rotary shift, as well as our low gear. We've got our parking brake, our auto hold setting, as well as different drive modes. So our drive modes, very similar to what we just saw. We've got our normal, eco, sport, slippery, deep snow and sand, back to our normal again. When we're in different drive modes, that's going to do different things to the vehicle as well. Like when we're in our sport mode, the gears are going to hold longer. When we're in the slippery snow, we're also going to have our traction control disabled for us. Now moving down a tiny little bit more, we also do have a little armrest. As you can see there, nothing inside of this one. We do have a pen holder there, as well as along the very top. As we start to move up overhead, so this one does have the business card holder. Moving this open, we do have our vanity mirror with lights. We can crank this open and slide it as necessary. Click it back into place there. As we start to move up overhead, as you can see there, we do have, it's not auto dimming, so inside of the SEL trim level, we do have to manually adjust this if we've got blinding lights behind us later on at night. We've got our cabin control lights, and we also do have our sunglasses holder, which is going to be standard inside our Ford vehicles. Now up overhead, this one also does not have the twin panel sunroof, but in the SEL trim level, it is available as an option. Well, folks, that was a look at the 2021 Ford Escape Hybrid SEL. What did you think? It's kind of a nice catch between the SE versus the titanium. Gives you a few extra nice features without having to go all the way up to the titanium trim level. If you have any questions, drop down in the comment section below, and I'm more than willing to talk you through any issues that you may be having. If you enjoyed the content, give it a thumbs up. Think about subscribing, sharing it with your social network, and until I see you next time, make sure you stay safe. Looking underneath the hood, it's powered by a 2.5-liter Atkinson Hybrid vehicle. What?